Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me. Today's episode is why you cannot go back to the narcissist once you've already broken up with them. So this is for the people who have either just broken up for the first time and are thinking about going back, but it's also for the people who have these kind of on and off again relationships with the narcissist, hoping for a better outcome each time they go back. I've got some notes, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. But let's get into it, darlings. So, first of all, we all know just how hard it is to have a relationship with a narcissist. So in the beginning, they're quite easy to love. They're quite easy to be with because they're mirroring you. They are pretending to be exactly the kind of person you want them to be. And that's kind of really easy to deal with. But that's not the reality. And as time passes, you start to see more of the real self than the false self that they're projecting. And the reality is that narcissists are really hard work. They're hard to be in relationships and they're hard work because they change the rules. You can't... There's no stability with a narcissist because they're continually moving the goalposts, changing the rules, and you think you're trekking along nicely, and then all of a sudden black is white and everything that is right is wrong. And that is really confusing. So there's no rhyme or reason because you do not understand the programming, their programming, and what their actual agenda is. Very different to healthy, normal relationships. So they flick back and forth between, being cold, being hot, being cold, being loving, being cruel. That kind of stuff, it takes its toll. So you never know where you stand with them, and that's the way they like it. So anyhow, what happens? Maybe in the heat of the moment, you had a fight and you end up leaving. Maybe you actually planned to leave. Maybe you made phone calls, to your mum in the other state saying, organise tickets, I'm coming home. And you've either gone through with it or you're planning to and they find out about it. But the reality is, in their mind, you have left them. You're either planning on it or you did. So let's just say you did, right? So you've told them it's over. You've said you can't handle the abuse anymore. You can't live like this anymore. And so you leave them. At first, they'll probably let you have a bit of space. Then they'll start blowing up the phone, calling, texting, begging, pleading, promising everything that you ever wanted. But you ignore it because you've heard it all before. So after a while, the anger subsides and the hurt and the abuse just doesn't seem as bad as it did a week ago. So either you contact him or he contacts you and you start talking, and once again the promises start, but this time, he sounds genuine. He sounds like he really means it this time. So you go back. But what you don't know is this is not a normal situation. Okay? He is not thinking to himself, I must improve upon myself X, Y, and Z to keep this relationship. That is not what he's thinking at all. What's really going is, by you leaving, even if you left for one night, that in itself has created a narcissistic injury. So you have damaged the narcissist it's almost like a fatal blow. It's something that they just do not get over. So they don't forgive this kind of stuff, and they certainly don't forget it. In his eyes now, you look weaker because you came back for more abuse. And you're acting up. The fact that you thought you could just leave him like that you just upped and left him. And he didn't see it coming, and he wasn't even prepared. He didn't have enough fuel backed up. He didn't have enough supplies of fuel backed up. That made him feel really, really vulnerable. And in his mind, you made him feel really, really vulnerable. You made him feel threatened. You made his existence feel threatened by you leaving him and him losing control of the situation. So now the resentment starts to build within him towards you, and he's laughing at you as well because he's thinking to himself that you fell for his lies yet again. And they love that kind of thing. They love having a laugh at you, at how stupid you are, how gullible you are, and how naive you are. Because you got to remember, the narcissists see love as weakness. They're not, normal. They're maladapted. They don't see love like we do. They don't see, they don't do vulnerability, and anything that makes them feel vulnerable is a threat to them. It doesn't make them feel intimate and close to you. It just makes them feel threatened. So now he's got this narcissistic injury, and he's realized that you're not functioning properly. So you are just like, an everyday appliance, like a vacuum. Here we go. Okay, so kind of like when your vacuum doesn't work. So what do you do when your vacuum isn't working properly? I mean, it's still working, or for example, one day you went to turn it on and it just didn't turn on. And then you tried it a few times and it still didn't work. And then it finally turned on, but it wasn't doing the job properly. So what are you going to do? Well, if you've got another vacuum lying around, you might just replace it, But if you don't have another vacuum lying around, you might keep the vacuum. You might start looking at catalogues and trying to find things on special, looking for good ones that are on special, but you keep your old one, because you need to get the job done in the interim. And so I hope you guys can see where I'm actually going with this, right? So, and if you've got, a few vacuums lying around, you might use 3 or 4 to get the job done, whatever it takes, right, to get the job done. And this is how the narcissist works. They have a fuel supply that they need. They need fuel. They need energy and attention to exist. So now that you've proved that you might just up and leave any minute, he is definitely going to replace you. I mean, they always, narcissists have this cycle. They always idealize, devalue, replace, and then discard. Okay, so in the beginning, they put you up on a pedestal and you're fantastic. After a while, they realize you're human and they don't really like it, and it's not as good as they thought. You're not as good as they thought you were going to be. Like, the grass actually wasn't greener. And so now they're like, it's not that good. And they don't really value it that much. They knock it around a bit when they're using it, and they don't really care. It's getting scratched and it's getting damaged, but they don't really care because, it's just a matter of time before they replace it anyhow, right? So they're looking around for the replacement, and then that's when the discard happens, when they've locked down a replacement. So that cycle occurs. It doesn't matter whether or not you are the best supply ever, whether you give them everything they ever want, and do absolutely everything for them, whether you, cause them no drama at all. It doesn't matter how you try and play it with a narcissist, it always ends up being the same, because this is their programming. It's what they do. Okay? They don't value you because you put up with their abuse. They think less of you. So that in itself makes them want to replace you. So, getting back to it. So like all appliances, to the narcissist, we are not human. We are just appliances that are interchangeable and replaceable. So if one doesn't work and becomes, maladaptive, not functioning, whatever, just get a new one. Who cares? That's about as much actual emotion as a narcissist feels replacing a soulmate. All right, so you might be thinking, well, why would he keep me around? Because, a lot of people think that because the narcissist is keeping them around, that they're having some kind of relationship with them. It's a situationship for a start. There's no relating going on. They just don't care about you. You're just convenient and you're sourcing all their needs. So they'll keep you around because, firstly, they haven't lined up replacement primary supply yet. So, it's not that easy, especially as they get older. It's not that easy to find someone to be primary supply. So that takes time in itself, right? So they will use you to service their needs, and this is kind of sinister, but they'll actually use you to socialize and to have access to other women, because it's a lot easier for a man to have contact with women when he has a woman. So when he goes out into the world, as a single bloke, when he meets other women, they may assume that he's trying to crack onto them. They may feel threatened by him. But if he's a married man, or if he's a family man, women won't feel so threatened, and he will be allowed and granted access, to them as friends, to them as, family friends, whatever. So the whole thing with the narcissist, this ties in with future faking as well. People often say, well, why did we get married? Like, why did he marry me? Why did we have children together? And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Narcissists just don't care about the things that we care about. They couldn't care less about getting married, but they know that it matters to you. So if you are engaged, or married, or having children, all of those three things makes you feel like A, he's committed, B, he's around for the long haul, and C, what you have is real. But in actuality, all of those things are used by a narcissist to keep you looking the wrong way. So you won't be looking so closely at them, when you're thinking, he's a committed family man. You won't look when he's talking to other women. You won't be concerned because, you're thinking, well, he's committed to me. What we have is real. We're having a baby together, so you don't pay attention to the red flags. You don't pay attention to him chatting up other women, talking online, talking to the ex. You don't notice those things, and that's why they do it, right? So if you've left him, you've caused a narc injury, so he's going to replace you. He needs to find a replacement before he lets you go. And that is the bottom line for the narcissist. They will go to, family counseling if that makes you stick around long enough for them to find a replacement. And I've said this before also, this can actually take years. For them to source new supply can take years. And the idea that they can just keep someone around and just use them, for any amount of time, to me is absolutely horrifying. Like, it really is horrifying. If I hadn't experienced it firsthand, I wouldn't even believe that it was possible. I wouldn't even believe that there are people out there capable of being that cold and that calculating, and who have that little concern. Like, they don't care about you. They don't care about the outcome for you. Once you are no longer an appliance servicing them and their needs, they couldn't care less about what happens to you. So, darlings, let's get back to this. All right. So, yeah, by leaving him, you've shown him that you have seen through his mask. And that is horrifying to him. Like, he's shocked. He thought that you were believing in the facade, the fact that you've actually seen through just a little bit. You've only seen a little bit. It was enough for you to leave, though, right? So now he knows that you actually have the ability to see who he really is. And the last thing he wants is someone who can see who he really is. He wants someone to believe the lie that he sells. The facade and the construct, this false self that he sells daily. If you don't believe that, then you become a threat to him. So now you've seen through it. And also, by leaving, you've shown that you are a separate being to him. You have your own self. And for a narcissist, they kind of just merge with their victims. They kind of just absorb them, take them over. And when you do anything to stand up for yourself, anything to be independent, anything, to, like I said, stand up for yourself, to protect yourself, that shows them that you are actually separate to them. And it also shows that he is losing control. and they don't like losing control. That is, for the narcissist, losing control is kind of the beginning of the end, because once they start losing control, you could up and leave tomorrow, and then he would be in a really, really dangerous situation. When they don't have a fuel supply, they can't actually survive that long. It makes them get depressed, almost suicidal when they haven't got fuel sources. So now he's just going to keep you in place while he tests out other sources and tests out other fuel supplies. So he might be doing it online, he might be doing it behind your back, testing the water with the ex, or exes. And as I said, and often this is the time when they will get engaged, or where they will have a pregnancy, which makes you think, oh, everything's good, we're good, we're progressing, which is exactly what they want you to think, so that you're not focused on what's really going on. And that is that, he's distracting you, so you're looking over one way, while he goes over here and does his own thing. So, as I say, darlings, there is absolutely no point. There is 0 point in going back to them. After the first time, there's no point. You're literally just wasting your own time. Sure, they may, like I said, love bomb you a bit in the beginning. It's just a matter of time before it gets back to the same old bullshit. And this is not your normal relationship. You don't you don't break up and then make up and be stronger for it and better for it. That isn't what happens. What happens is, once you break up and make up, they think less of you. They also know you're going to go, and it's just a matter of when, and now they have to find a replacement. So, darlings, that is the nature of the beast. All right, lovelies. Thank you for watching. And just quickly, if anyone wants any one-on-one consulting with me, I'll put the link in the description box. And my new course is coming out very soon. I haven't got an exact date, but it's coming. It's so close. It's so close, just around the corner. All right, lovelies. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.